Good evening, I'm Jordan Smith. Thanks for joining us. At around 3:30 this morning, a Gainesville police officer saw Carlos Dunlap's car stopped at a green light. When the first suspect approached the house, he knocked several times on the door. When Mr. Roboleski answered the door, the second suspect came around from the side of the house and tried to push Mr. Roboleski over. An Ocala woman is suing the Florida Lottery after its refusal to pay a $500,000 prize on what officials call a misprinted ticket. By the end of the day, we should know who the new mayor of Gainesville is. Now, Tuesday's runoff election had, at many times, fewer than 100 votes, separating Craig Lowe and Don Marsh, and the final count had only 35 votes between the two candidates. Union County ranked dead last when it comes to healthy counties in Florida. Health Department officials say one major reason is the obesity rate, and they hope that residents will start making healthier food choices. The spewing oil well in the Gulf of Mexico has failed to come under control. Today, BP officials acknowledge the operation known as Top Kill isn't working. Now, joining me live is Jim Drum, the city manager of High Springs. Now, Jim, how has the voter turnout been today? The final practice is coming to a close. Next stop, Vancouver. Okay, so what's the fun in coming to a costume shop if you can't try on any costumes, right? Judy says she has a few in the back waiting for me. Which brings us to our weekly web poll. Do you think the Gator football team will win against Alabama this weekend at the SEC Championship? Log on to our website at wcjb.com to voice your opinion. We'll have the results on Fridays, 5:30 Live. Fires like this are an example of why officials say it's crucial you change the batteries in your smoke alarms. They say you can remember when to change them by remembering daylight savings time. When you move your clocks forward 1 hour tonight, change your batteries too. The Alachua County Department of Public Safety and Gainesville Fire Rescue will provide and properly install smoke alarms to people who cannot afford them. Some JetBlue passengers have made it to Florida after their first plane was turned back to Puerto Rico. Officials say the first jetliner with 39 passengers on board was forced to return after the pilot reported smoke in the cockpit. No one was hurt. Well, this has been a soggy, wet, windy weekend for much of the nation. A huge storm is slamming areas from the south to New England with driving rain, high winds, and power outages. Rail and bus services have been delayed or suspended, as well as flights. The big concern now is flooding from swollen rivers and streams. ABC's Todd Ant reports. The Republican National Committee is targeting Tampa as a possible site for the 2012 National Republican Convention. The RNC announced yesterday it would visit Tampa, Phoenix, and Salt Lake City in late March or early April. RNC members are scheduled to vote on the committee's recommendation at their annual summer meeting in July. Joining me now to tell us more about this is Hillary Hines with Alachua County Animal Services. Good morning, Hillary.
Good morning, Jordan.
Aaron Bowl is up next. Your forecast. Stay with us. At around 3:30 this morning, a Gainesville police officer saw Carlos Dunlap's car stopped at a green light in the 200 block of 34th Street. The officer says that he watched the car through a few light cycles, but it never moved. When he approached the car, he saw Dunlap inside, slumped over in the driver's seat. This arrest, like you said, comes just 5 days before the Gators take on number 2 Alabama in the SEC Championship. GPD officials say they are working on a report to send to the state attorney's office, and they will turn that in a few days. Robert?
Now, Jordan, do we know the playing status for Dunlap for this weekend?
Well, Robert, the University Athletic Association told TV20 that Coach Meyer will not speak on this issue until after the Gator football practice tonight, so we'll have more on this at 5:30 and 6. Reporting in Gainesville, I'm Jordan Smith, TV20 News. Gary Roboleski says he had no choice but to defend himself. He's confined to a wheelchair, and when attacked by 2 men at his doorstep last night, he says he had to fight back.
First of all, I'm alone and I can't run away.
62-year-old Gary Roboleski of Ocala is a paraplegic, and when he heard knocking on his door Monday night, he says he had a bad feeling and grabbed his gun just in case.
Something just bothered me about it.
The man on the other side told Roboleski he needed his car battery jumped, but that wasn't all he wanted. When the first suspect approached the house, he knocked several times on the door. When Mr. Roboleski answered the door, the second suspect came around from the side of the house and tried to push Mr. Roboleski over in his wheelchair.
And that's when I shot him.
He fired 4 times, killing the masked second suspect, 24-year-old Jeffrey Allen Kinney, a man who was arrested in October for grand theft and attacking a police officer. Kinney's accomplice last night, the man who knocked on the door, got away.
When someone comes onto your property or comes into your home, you do have the right to protect yourself, your family, and your home.
A neighbor called the sheriff's office, and while Roboleski waited for them, he says he realized he knew the man in the mask. He had helped him work on his truck over a month ago, but Roboleski says he ended the friendship because he felt like Kinney was, quote, casing the place.
Let's put it this way, it didn't surprise me, okay? You know, he just didn't seem right.
And now, he says he's glad he trusted his instincts because it saved his life. Late today, sheriff's deputies caught the other suspect, Ruben Gonzalez. He was charged with felony murder and booked into the Marion County Jail. Jordan Smith, TV 20 News.
Late to the airport, late to work. They say they have a medical condition.
Caught speeding? You probably have an excuse, right?
I was just adjusting my cruise.
But Lieutenant Stephen Donaldson of the Hampton Police Department says there are some things you shouldn't say to get out of a ticket.
Tell me you ain't never did it in the car before.
She touched my wedding ring with her finger. She says, "I know you're married. Have you ever cheated on your wife?"
It all started here on Prospect Avenue in Hampton when Lieutenant Donaldson tracked a driver going 42 miles per hour in a 30 zone. When he pulled this woman, Becky Tillman of Hampton, over for speeding on Tuesday, he says she tried to bribe him to get out of the ticket with sex. And it was all caught on his dash cam video.
You could have gave me a break. We could have worked it out in trade, you know what I mean?
Are you talking about something sexual? I mean, I just came out and said that. And she says, "We can do it in the back of your car."
Then where are we going to go? In your car.
Tillman said she'd do anything to get out of the $191 ticket. She left after getting the ticket, but just a few minutes later, Donaldson says she came back, flagged him down, and made the offer again.
It's like demeaning to me. It's demeaning to every officer.
The next day, the police chief reviewed the tape and agreed Donaldson should arrest Tillman. But when Donaldson went to her house, she thought he was there to pursue her.
Put her in handcuffs and put her in the back of the car. I think she still was under the impression that this was a game.
Donaldson says once she realized she was in trouble, Tillman claimed it was all a joke. But he says this was nothing to joke about. Jordan Smith, TV 20 News.